Live from the Unibank Studios, it's the Paul Westcott Show on WTAG, Worcester.
It's 8:39. Paul Westcott back here. We've got a very special guest, a guy you might know from TV here on Charter TV3, a good friend, Dan Kenney. You can find him online, GoFishDan.com. He joins us in studio. Dan, how you doing?
Good. Good morning, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming on. And do you feel like, I hate to say it, a fish out of water? You're here in a radio studio, not on a boat?
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
It's a little different, right?
Yeah, it's a lot more comfortable on the deck, for sure.
So, Dan, tell me a little bit about, why you're here today, because it's not just because I want to talk about your show. I really do want to get into it, but I also want to talk about Project New Hope that you are, and you say it's a small part. I feel like you're doing a lot of stuff for it, but it's a great program for returning veterans. Tell us about it.
Okay, so Project New Hope is a 501c3 organization, and the biggest thing that they do is they do not draw a salary. Nobody. It all goes back to the veterans.
It's great.
And that's just awesome. So my role is we go to these weekend retreats, and we bring out the combat veterans, their families, boating, fishing, whatever they want to do. And it's a small part, in my opinion, of the whole therapeutic process. They have yoga, they have meditation, they have archery, they have psychologists and doctors. It's just an amazing staff, nutritionists, everything. And the whole idea is to get these veterans acclimated back, countryside, and to live a productive life and to deal with the issues that unfortunately come with going overseas, with the PTSD mainly.
Absolutely, and PTSD, and you have a lot of returning soldiers who are now coming back, and unfortunately, with the shutdown, the one program that unfortunately has been affected that they certainly should have kept open is a lot of treatment facilities and things like that. So to have organizations like Project New Hope is a really good thing. It's a really positive thing.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. And one of the things, not to bash on government, but a lot of these veterans come back and they go to the VA hospital.
Right.
And oftentimes they're just here's some pills and go on your way.
Right.
And Project New Hope is more of a holistic healing. They've definitely walking them through the process on the road to recovery, so to speak. And, it's just a fantastic venture that they do out there.
It's an amazing time we live in that America, over the past decade and then some, has been at war in two different theaters.
Right.
We've had Afghanistan, we've had Iraq, and, of course, troops are stationed around the world. Afghanistan is still going on. Right. Afghanistan is still happening. I mean, it's still in force. There's still lots of troops in Iraq, but really the massive devastation to American it's not to American forces in general, but the death toll that we've seen has been, and as well as those troops who are returning with PTSD and with some of these other war injuries have been from Afghanistan. And it's still going on, and things like this. It's programs like this that help remind us we are still in a state of war.
Right, and I've personally taken out probably 6 or 7 Gold Star moms who have lost a son or daughter in the war. Dads who have lost a son, brothers, uncles, whatever. And it really is sobering when you go to these retreats and you literally see 100, 125 of these people that have all lost a family member. And they're at these retreats to help deal with that, in addition to the soldiers that are coming back, thank God made it back and getting treatment.
Absolutely. And it's a great program. It's very therapeutic. I remember there was one program at where I used to park my boat where they had this big tugboat. It was this huge, former Coast Guard boat, and it didn't involve fishing. It was just cruising around, and it brought them out on the water. It got them out on the water, and it was run. These guys who ran it free of charge. It was something they did on the weekends, and they did it for returning soldiers, and they did it for police officers who were in very crime-riddled areas, and took them out. And what is it about the water that connects you? And this we're going to get into your role in this whole thing now, because what is it about the water that relaxes people? You go out there, you're going fishing. I mean, you've made a career out of it, which is it's like being a professional golfer to me. It's like you go out and you go on the water, you go out and go to a golf course. Oh, great, you're playing golf. And what do you do in your spare time? Do a radio show? So, so I look at it as, wow, that's a cool way to spend your time. So what do they say it does for them?
Well, it relaxes them. It puts them in a good mindset, and it is really a big part of the therapy session.
Hmm.
But more importantly is what they do is, and I've had a lot of these families contact me after the event for additional boat rides,
Mm.
and I really can't explain it other than when you're on the boat, when you're on the water, and
Hmm.
you're in nature. All of those things combined, and just seeing the God's great creation and so
Hmm.
forth, it just does something to the soul, and it really is a relaxing environment. And I think they are so appreciative and thankful.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've had many of them come back, and they've sent me emails after, like, hey, I'm going fishing here, or I'm going boating there. and
Right.
and that's really the juice that I get from it, is to see some results after the fact.
Absolutely. Well, that's really the goal of this, in addition to helping these guys out. By the way, we're speaking with Dan Kenney. GoFishDan.com is the website, and he's host of Go Fish with Dan Kenney, syndicated across the Charter Network. You're on in 44 states now? Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's through
It's
Peg
huge.
Media, and
It's great.
yeah, but YouTube is king. No offense to Charter 3,
No,
but,
no, that's great.
yeah.
Well, very good stuff. And this is obviously, and like I said, connecting your part in this. You're bringing some of them out on the water, and you're here today to ask for maybe a little more help for some captains out there, from some boat owners out there.
Right. If there's any boat owners in the listening audience, absolutely. I've got 6 boats lined up right now, possibly 7, but I've got 125 combat veterans that are scheduled to be there on Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and it's from 8 a.m. to 1, so it's a 5-hour window. And I certainly could use additional boats to bring them out. These people are from the 182nd, and they've had a very bad time, specifically the last 4 months. They've had 4 suicides,
Oh.
and the 2-star general has contacted Project New Hope President Bill Moore and asked for an emergency retreat. So this one in particular is very important, because it is for the 182nd, and
Wow.
helping them deal with the fallen brethren that have come, since coming back.
Right. That is amazing. So you have 2-star generals, or Project New Hope has 2-star generals calling them, a non-governmental
Right.
organization, an organization out of the goodness of your heart and others' hearts, going out there and doing this, saying, we need an emergency retreat. I've never
Right.
heard that kind of term used before for something that seems recreational, but that's how important this program is then.
Oh, absolutely. He's received numerous calls, and it's kudos to Project New Hope, but that is the fact of where we are today, is these guys are reaching out for any support and help they can get, and we're glad to provide it.
Oh, it's fantastic. And who are some of the sponsors, by the way? I don't want to forget any of these guys, because they are providing some of this cool stuff. You
Right.
got a cool pair of shoes right
Oh,
there. Who's that
absolutely.
from?
Well, New Balance here. These are the Camo 623s,
Mhm.
and they're a huge supporter of mine, and of course with my affiliation with Project New Hope, they jumped right on board, and they support financially, but also with the Camo shoes that go out to the combat veterans.
Mhm.
Just a small token, thanking them for their service. So I kind of feel like Santa Claus. I
Right,
got my
right.
pickup truck loaded with these, and the veterans come, and I get the here you go, guys. So
You get to hand out the shoes. Oh,
yeah,
that's great.
But New Balance is a huge supporter. Dexter Russell Knives right here in Southbridge, they're another huge supporter. And basically I've got Yamaha, Polarcraft, Rockingham Bow, you name it. And the good thing is that the sponsors that I've aligned myself with, when I tell them about this retreat, they can't help but open up and assist.
That's great, and that's really what you want with this stuff. And we'll, of course, shine a spotlight on them,
Yeah.
because they're doing a good job. You're doing a great job. And where is your latest episode filmed? Where are you? Because you're all over the country. You're up into Canada. You go all
Yeah.
over the place. When are we going to see you on TV next? And where, or even on YouTube? And what are you? Where are you fishing?
Okay, so I went to Ontario, Canada last month.
Nice.
I went to Stonington, Connecticut, and Watch Hill out in Rhode Island. I went to the top of Maine. I've gone to upstate New York.
Wow.
Both Irondequoit Bay and on some lakes up there. I'm going next Monday and Tuesday to Delaware River with
Nice.
Bassmaster University President Pete Gluzek, who's kind of a bigger deal than me.
Never than you, Dan. Well, we appreciate it. It's all good stuff. You can see Dan, GoFishDan.com, and just Google Project New Hope. You can find more information on them. Certainly a worthy cause. Dan Kenney, thanks for the time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, folks, we got to take a brief time out. A lot more to get to. Paul Westcott.